Welcome to Moms of the Lou, hosted by two fellow St. Louis moms, Rebecca
and Lauren,
and recorded for St. Louis moms.
Grab your laundry basket, kick your feet up for nap time, or head out the door for pickup, and spend a little time catching up with local moms who are making a big impact in St. Louis.
Let's dive into our discussion today.
This episode of the Moms of the Lou podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Laumeyer Sculpture Park.
Spend Mother's Day weekend at Laumeyer Sculpture Park's 39th annual art fair. Shop handmade artwork from more than 160 artists, experience interactive hands-on activities for the whole family, and enjoy local eats and live music amongst the backdrop of the park's iconic sculptures. Celebrate 50 years of creativity and community May 8th through 10th. Get tickets at laumeyer.org/artfair. All right, St. Louis moms, we are back for another episode of Moms of the Lou. So excited today to be joined by a longtime friend and supporter of St. Louis mom, Dr. Brooke Kalisiak of Legacy Physical Therapy. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Okay. This is like one of my favorite topics to talk about. So excited for this particular episode. But before we get into pelvic floor health and all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family.
Yeah.
Where do you hail from?
So originally from Chicago, Illinois, although I've been living in St. Louis for a quarter of a century now. So
Wow.
I guess I'm a St. Louisan. So
You
yeah,
are.
since 2000. Moved here to go to physical therapy school in 2000 and just never left because I loved just St. Louis so much. And so I've raised my family here. It's my husband and my son and I. I am a mom on the other side. My son is 20. He's in college right now.
Just so crazy.
So it is crazy to think because I still picture him as this little guy.
And
I
know.
Even though he's 6'4".
Yeah.
He's taller than I am.
Of
And
course.
I was like, but no, it's a fun new stage of being a mom with someone in college and that.
Yeah.
So, and like getting to see him turn into that young adult is really cool. So, but yeah, I opened up my pelvic physical therapy practice, Legacy Physical Therapy. We are in year 17 in business. Because when I opened it, there was no one in the St. Louis area that was putting pelvic physical therapy and pelvic health issues at the forefront.
Yeah.
And I wanted to shout from the rooftops that there are these issues and that we can do something about them. So that's why I created my practice, and we've grown over the years. It's myself and 4 other pelvic physical therapists there, 2 locations, soon to be changing to a new location later this summer.
Cool.
So you guys might be the first to
Hot
know
off
on
the
the podcast
press.
now. So so it's been great.
You're an OG in this space.
So you studied physical therapy. So what made you take a deep dive into pelvic floor? Why pelvic floor?
So, I get that question all the time. Most of my patients are like, why did you choose to do this? So, my personal background with it, I got a little bit of introduction to it in PT school. Like most PT schools, you get a little introduction to it, and it kind of depends on what your professors are really into and if they have an area. And Washington University has Dr. Tracy Spitznagel, who is an expert in the field, and kind of gave me my introduction to it. And then as I got out into the PT world and started working, I found myself drawn to working with pregnant and postpartum moms and helping them kind of resolve any of the pain issues that they were having. And then I had some family members who were dealing with pelvic health issues and were helped with pelvic physical therapy. And so I was like, this is something more people need to know about. And at the time when I opened Legacy Physical Therapy, the only pelvic physical therapists that were in the St. Louis area were hidden in the hospital systems. And like your doctor had to know about them and maybe tell you to go. And so there just wasn't great access. And so I was like, I always knew I wanted to have my own practice. And I was like, this needs to be something that's here. Like we need to be where like you just shout this from the rooftops and people get to learn more about it. So that's kind of why I went down that road.
So can you explain exactly to somebody that doesn't have that information, what is a pelvic floor? Can you explain that just in general terms?
Yeah. So,
high level.
High level. So the pelvic floor is a bowl of muscles on the bottom of our pelvis. So we're all sitting right now. So we're sitting on our pelvic floor. So it goes from our pubic bone in the front to the tailbone in the back and spans across our 2 sit bones. And depending on if you're male or female, you either have 3 holes or two holes that come out through there. And so, but it is involved in many different functions. The most common function that people are aware of for it is that it helps us keep the pee and the poop up off the floor. And that's so when we're 3 and learning to potty train, we're actually learning to use and control those muscles voluntarily. We don't realize that that's what we're doing, but that's what we're doing. But these muscles are also involved in arousal and sexual function. So they help with orgasming and arousal. They are involved in supporting the pelvis, the bony pelvis itself. They work together with our other core muscles. So I always describe our trunk as like a canister. So the top is the diaphragm, the front side's the abdominal wall, the back side's the back muscles, and the bottom is the pelvic floor. And so you need all parts of the can kind of working well together. And it just, the pelvic floor just happens to be the bottom of the can.
Okay, well, you know my story, but I had my first baby overseas, in France. I did not know what a pelvic floor was until I was in my first childbirth class. I had no clue. And I don't know if that's a result of like the health class in school or if that's like the discussions that we're having at home, but I had no clue. I was just absolutely clueless. And in France, it's government, I don't want to say mandated, but government covered coverage for pelvic floor physical therapy after you deliver a baby. Okay.
Correct.
And so they gave me that prescription when I checked out of the hospital with my baby. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah, like, what?
And they were like, you're going to want to do this. Talk to your doctor. Okay. So I went to my 6-week appointment, which they have there, like we have here. And he asked me, he's like, okay, so have you made your first appointment, for the PT? And I was like, oh yeah, that paper. I was like, no, I'm feeling really good. Not having any issues. He's like, oh, no. Like, you need to do this. And and that was my doctor, right? That was my male doctor. That wasn't a midwife. That was my male doctor. And so it was that top down, like, expertise, encouragement, right? So my question is, and I mean, I feel like there's all kinds of schools of thought as to why, like, it's a big deal in France, you know, I mean, but I'm like, how do we move to this? What do you think is the solution for us to get to a place in the United States of America where this is like standard care for moms without moms having to dig for this or pursue it themselves, but that it would come, what do you think it's going to take us to get there?
A major medical overhaul to our system. Honestly, like the U.S. healthcare system is reactive, not proactive. And so insurance doesn't reimburse for being proactive. It is a money-making industry, and it is very reactive to things that are going on. But there have been movements in the right direction. I've seen locally, again, it's moms advocating for themselves, but over my 17 years in practice, I have seen a big move towards women being like, my friend told me about this. My sister told me about this. I need to do this. And being more proactive. So I love that the word has gotten out there much more, because that wasn't the case back when I first opened. And across the nation, we have seen some movement in the right direction. Like I had a colleague, I forget what state she was in, but she was part of a major hospital system, and they put it on the exit paperwork. And they're like, okay, like we realize the value in this. Like the women should be, prescribed this.
Yeah.
Now, when they did it the first time around, they put it on the exit paperwork as something the doctor could check off as the woman should do.
Yeah.
And they watched it for several months or a year or whatever, and they noticed that the uptick of women going to pelvic physical therapy or getting prescribed it really didn't change. And that's like, well, it's on the sheet. Like, why? Like, it's an option. Well, you had to change the pattern for the doctor, too. And so the change that made the biggest difference, it was an automatically checked yes box. Oh. The doctor had to physically go in there and uncheck it because they didn't want the person to go for some reason. So now that it was an automatically checked yes box in the system, women were getting referred because it was just there.
Interesting.
And is that right or wrong? I don't know, but that was a way that a medical system looked at it and got it moving in that direction. I know that there is some work on legislation to try and make it like it is in France, but it's just a lot of moving parts with legislation and hospital administration and insurance and all of that. Like, how does it all, come into play?
Mother's Day can be joyful and complicated all at once. During National Infertility Awareness Week, Arbor Fertility wants families to know, we see you. If your journey to parenthood hasn't looked the way you imagined, you are not alone. Headquartered in Chesterfield with 7 locations serving families across St. Louis, mid-Missouri, and southern Illinois, Arbor Fertility is known for compassionate, concierge-style care, transparent pricing, and the most affordable fertility treatment options in the region. Led by double board certified fertility specialist, Dr. Shvetha Zarek, the team works closely with each patient to create personalized treatment plans designed around their unique goals. Whether you're exploring fertility for the first time or navigating a longer journey, Arbor Fertility is here to support you with answers, options, and hope. Learn more at arbor-fertility.com.
Don't miss the Route 66 Centennial Festival at the Missouri History Museum, April 30th through May 3rd. Bring back memories of the Mother Road's stunning natural scenery and roadside attractions, and explore its complex history. Featuring a concert by Sweetie and the Toothaches, family night, a classic car show, neon sign display, food trucks, and more. Families can drop in anytime to the playroom and work together to plan a trip on Route 66 the old-fashioned way. Paper maps and brochures. Crafts include making your own neon sign, creating an air freshener for your car, and decorating a paper hat for your shift at a roadside diner. All activities are free. Schedule at mohistory.org/festival.
So you talk a little bit about being like proactive about it. So how important is it to have physical pelvic floor physical therapy?
It's always a mouthful.
Got it.
I got it.
We got there.
Before pregnancy or during pregnancy.
So
versus after.
Yeah. Obviously love proactive people and seeing them ahead of their pregnancy to get kind of like a baseline is like, even if they're not having any issues, they're like, my husband and I, or my partner and I, are thinking of trying to have a baby in the next, several months. Where am I at? Just so we kind of get that baseline. Definitely if you are dealing with issues, so if you're already dealing with pelvic pain, heaviness, back pain, hip pain, any issues like that, leakage issues, pregnancy oftentimes only makes that worse.
Yeah.
So it's let's maybe get that taken care of or see where we're at with that so that we can optimize things for the pregnancy. And then a lot of times, so sometimes people don't even realize that they're trying or not, and then all of a sudden they're pregnant. So we usually recommend that sometime as long as they're feeling good, sometime in the second trimester to come in and again kind of get like, how you doing? Where are we at? Like, how well can your muscles stretch and relax? Anything like that.
Yeah.
Because whilst a lot of women know about the pelvic floor and that a contraction is a Kegel exercise with it, and they think that's the only thing that they should be doing for
Kegels.
Birth, is we actually have to stretch and relax, and the muscles have to move the other direction. Right. So they need some training a lot of times, because for most women, the first time they ever create a big push is when they're in labor and delivery. Right. And it's like, wait, how do I do that? Yeah. So you can work with a pelvic physical therapist to figure out how to do that and or to manage any pain issues during pregnancy. And then we typically follow up with people around that 6-week mark, let the body heal. And then we have worked with people earlier if they're dealing with issues that are keeping them from taking care of their baby, their family, and that. But if everything's healing well, even if you're doing well, we recommend someone come in for at least one visit postpartum just to assess where you're at, because the human body is amazing and has lots of redundant and compensatory systems. So the body will be like, oh, I got to do this. Like I have, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn at home, and I got to take care of the house and do it. And like, it'll find a way to do it, but you might not have any leakage or pressure or pain. but you might also be developing some bad habits.
Totally.
That down the road you have some issues.
Well, and I think that's so important to talk about because I know someone who, same thing, like had a baby, all went well, healed up pretty well, went on and lived life. And then we went through menopause and then all of a sudden we have organ prolapse.
Yeah.
And had to have major surgery, right, to correct this. Yeah. And so I feel like when we're talking about pelvic floor health, it's not just like postpartum.
Correct.
We are looking at the big picture of our whole lives, right, as women.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really trying to set up. And for a lot of women, especially if we're having babies into our late 30s and even in our 40s now, like you might be having your baby and then hitting perimenopause and menopause very quickly after that. Like perimenopause can last for months to like 10 to 15 years for some women. So you'll be finishing. I know. It's like, come on, no break.
We get no break.
So is it too late for somebody like me? Like I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old and I like intense workouts. I like burn boot camp. Yeah. We're doing jumping ropes, and I have some bladder leakage. And I think every time, like, I gotta call Dr. Kalisiak. Like, I know I need this. Is it too late for me?
No,
I'm 41.
It's never too late.
Okay.
Our oldest patient is a 93-year-old woman with bladder leakage, and we were able to get her out of diapers and leak free. So
amazing.
So yes, your body is amazing,
what an advocate
and there are
for
things
herself.
that you can do. So, and a lot of women do wrongfully think like, oh, I'm not in that childbearing, pregnant, postpartum time frame. That must be it. And honestly, no, like we work with women throughout their lifespan, from teenagers who are dealing with like pain with their periods and leakage issues with activities. So a lot of cheerleaders and gymnasts and stuff to those childbearing years to then, commonly once we hit menopause, having issues again. So it's never too late.
Never too late to advocate for yourself or the life that you want and the physical health that you deserve, right? Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay, girl, let's do these rapid fires.
I'm just going to do a couple. Okay. Kegels. We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
Quick. Kegels, overrated or underrated?
Overrated. And that's Kegel's just a contraction of the pelvic floor muscles. It's using the muscle in isolation. Usually you're sitting still or laying down when you're doing them, and it's not functional. Yeah. So we want to see how it works with that whole canister. So our breathing, our abdominals, our pelvic floor, and how we're moving. So most people don't leak or have issues when they're just sitting still in a chair. Right. Yeah. It's like, what activity are we having issues? What's problematic, and integrating stuff into that.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay. Is there something like a go-to mom moment or something that we do that strains the pelvic floor that we could stop doing?
Holding our breath with activity or movement.
Ooh.
Okay, so this is one that a lot of people don't realize they're doing it, but like a common example is when people get up and down from the chair. So I'm lifting my entire body weight out of the chair. Yeah. And a lot of women don't even realize that they kind of hold their breath when they do that or strain down with it. And so a common cue that we give to our patients is to exhale with exertion. So whether it's lifting my own body, it's lifting weights at the gym. It's why, your trainers tell you to breathe when you're working out. And you're like, I can't do it without holding my breath. That's a sign that you're cheating the system and putting a lot of pressure down. And so lifting up kiddos, lifting up the laundry, getting in the habit of exhaling with exertion puts a lot less stress and pressure down through your pelvic floor.
Right. That takes practice to remind yourself to do.
Very much so.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
Well, you are amazing. We're so thankful for you and the work that you do for moms. And you really have made a huge difference for so many. So.
Wonderful. Happy to be here and help.
Yes. Okay. So we will connect you with Dr. Brooke in the show notes so that you know how to get connected with her practice. But again, like she said, it's never too late. So please take this as your sign that you deserve to have a life you love. So, all right, St. Louis moms, we will catch you next time.
This episode of the Moms of the Lou podcast was brought to you by our sponsor, Laumeier Sculpture Park.
Thanks for listening to Moms of the Lou. We hope it encouraged you and put a pep in your step and helped you get to know our community a little bit better. Be sure to find us on Instagram, st.louis_mom. You can find us on Facebook, St. Louis Mom. You can find us on our website, www.stlouismom.com. In case nobody else tells you today, you're a great mom and you're doing a great job. Chat with you next time.